Finals time across parts of the Mid-North. It is the Sports Fix here on Flow FM. And let's have a look at what was played there across the weekend. James Lang joins us on the line. G'day, mate. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Excellent. And Northern Areas into finals time. We had a couple of thrilling games on the weekend. One, I believe you were scoring at, and well, you've called them the masters of the chase before. They cut this one about as fine as you can cut it.
Yeah, Pete McCarriton, the team that just will never say die. Took on Sporting Booberowie down at Sporting. And to be honest, if you have a look at the scorecard, Pete McCarriton won the toss. And what did they do? They did what they love doing. They had a bowl. A bit like Sri Lanka in the 90s, the masters of the chase.
Yep.
Off to a hell of a start with the ball too. Ripped through the top order there with Sporting Booberowie. The outback Sachin, Zach Fielding, dismissed for only 8. Some of their other good performers, Ben Whalen, 7, Isaac Pearce and Will Longmire didn't bother the scorers, and they were in lots of trouble. But they managed to scrape their way through to all-out 98 with Alex Morgan, who's had a very good season, top scored with 26. And he found a bit of support with Cameron Longbottom in the lower order, who chipped in with 19. And for Pete McCarriton, Will Bowman picked up 3 wickets with 2 to Henry Slade, Jack Clark and Angus Stone. So they do have a very good bowling lineup, Sporting Booberowie. And they're off to a good start, Pete McCarriton. Put on 30 for the first wicket. At one stage, they were 1 for 42, quickly turned into 4 for 46. And then just consistent wickets all the way through. At 8 for 97, only needing 2 runs, things were okay. And Alex Morgan with a diving save to throw the stumps down. Suddenly things were at 9 for 97. So with the game on the line, Declan Duffy actually batted beautifully. He ended up unbeaten on 50 there with Luke Bowman also chipped in with 20. With the game on the line, Declan got one slightly through backward point. Proceeded to be a bit of a mix-up between him and young Angus Stone. And Sporting Booberowie boys fired at the stumps, not to be. And Pete McCarriton snuck home, as Ian Smith would say, by the barest of margins.
9 for 99 on this 2 for 22 day. That is, it would please those with OCD like myself. 9 for 99, but you're right. That was a big play, obviously, for a number of reasons, because a tie would have seen the Sporting crew get through, right?
It would have. Luckily, I was sitting there on the iPad doing the scores, which was great that we had that there too, and was asked a question with a couple of overs to go. I said no, and in the grand final we do revert to super overs, and I was asked a question, and what happens if the super overs tied? And I said, well, isn't it obvious? England win.
That's right. You find a way for England to win. Do you count boundaries? What happens there?
Well, I think what you do is you call your team England and you make sure the person that bowls is from Barbados and your number 1 striking batter from New Zealand goes out. But cheerio to my English friends who seem to get a bit sick of those types of comments. But
I like to remind them they still haven't won a World Cup final. But
yes. We just keep going. If we have a tied super over, we'll have another one, but we'll wait to see what happens, and it may never rear its head, but we are prepared for that for sure. But
let's hope it does.
No, Pete McCarriton, so they're through the preliminary final, and honestly, I think if the opposition win the toss, they might send them in. Yep,
that would be a smart move. Their opposition will be Borough, who have lost 4 on the trot now. Orroroo got them again here, and started looking at the score of this game when I was calling another game in Murraytown's cricket and saw that Orroroo only mustered up 138. And I thought, here we go, Borough have bounced back and they'll be right. But they couldn't chase them down. In the end, 9 for 114 and pretty much everything that could go wrong in the run chase did.
Yeah, at very heavy ground at Orroroo. They've had some summer rains up there, and the outfield was pretty lush. It probably needs a couple of hundred out, but so it's probably worth about 170 in Orroroo 12 months ago. But it was Ollie Dignan, who's in some stellar form at the moment. He led the way with 61. The veteran Johnny Sheehan chipped in with 26. Darcy Shute with 19 in the middle order. There was just they're the main contributors. But they found their way to 9 for 138. With the wickets, Harrison Quinn picked up 4 for Borough, and the veteran, Matt Opperman, with 3. 1 each to Thompson and Shupan, the openers. And in reply for Borough, not a good start. Jason Shupan out first ball of the innings.
Oof.
Edged behind to Ollie Dignan off the bowling of his brother Jed. Sam Matty batted well. He chipped in with 43. So there's just a loss of a lot of wickets and on a regular basis. Ben Hook top scored there with 45. And unfortunately, at the fall of the 9th wicket, he was, I'm not sure of the precise injury, but he retired hurt. I did see him on Saturday evening with his arm in a sling, which is when things don't go particularly well, they tend to happen in clusters. So unfortunate for the Borough guys, but I did see, amongst other things of cricket superstition, they did lose 2 wickets on 111, Lord Nelson. So maybe someone needed to do the David Shepherd hop there.
Oh, they were clearly not enough blokes on one leg.
But they finished, absolutely, they finished 24 runs short with 16 balls to go. So that was a tight one. But, Orroroo, they're in stellar touch at the moment. And, Borough will be looking to bounce back this week against Peak Carrington.
They will.
At home.
Yeah. That's going to be a fascinating game, that one, in a preliminary final. Geez, Borough of 4 losses, Peter Carrington. I mean, if they're chasing against anyone, they're a chance.
Yeah, you really don't want them chasing because they seem to thrive on it. They're a competitive unit. They're just a genuinely honest cricket team. And, of course, in their last clash, they did topple Borough. So, but you would still say Borough will start favourites at home. The form they've showed all year. And you would think Borough will bounce back, but Borough might have to win and send them in.
Well, they might
win the toss and send them in.
Yeah, they might, but it'll be interesting to see if Ben Hook can play. That'll be a big loss for them. He was their top scorer, and who knows if he's able to bat normally and freely. That game's still not over at 9 down. 20 odd runs to get with a guy who's set at the crease. If he can farm the strike, is not undoable.
Well, the only comment that I had about when someone does have an arm in a sling, because I've had it before myself playing football, at least it's okay. Say if you won the Henderson Shield and someone like Paul Pearce forgot to give the medals, it wouldn't really matter because it wouldn't get stuck in your arm sling. So cheerio to Pearcey if he's listening.
I'm sure he is. If he's not, if he wasn't, he is now. He seems to know when anyone's talking about him, Pearcey. But we'll see how that goes. Finals time continues there in Northern Areas cricket. But look, let's talk Stanley cricket, actually, because we're into the finals there now as well. And we had a final minor round of matches over the weekend, which locked away things as far as the ladder goes. But they were all pretty ABC results, barring one.
Yes. Surprise, surprise, Lower North. Just the form team of the season, and they knocked Augmentero over, unfortunately, for only 89.
Yeah.
And that was just a show of their class. And only took them 17 overs to pass them 1 down. They are just in stellar form hitting the finals. So they are most certainly the out-and-out favourites. I'm not sure, maybe $1.02, but they're a quality team and have been for a long time. That was probably the one that we thought is probably going to be the least tight of them all for the current round, but The Buffaloes are charging, and they will be extremely hard to beat. And there was a couple of other games, the usual grudge matches, for want of a better phrase, but some interesting results there.
Very.
Brinkworth-Kalunga over Seven Hill. That was a very tight one.
And a very important one too in terms of the ladder. We'll get to that in a minute, but this
Absolutely.
is a big game, and to win it they won by 1 wicket.
They did, yeah. And when I say Peakner, sorry, Scott Kirshner hasn't played for Peakner for about 8 years. Seven Hill, Scott Kirshner with 49, Michael Dobson with 50. They got through. Had a pretty good start there, being at 1 for 92, but just some solid bowling. And Paul Meyer, 4 for 33, bowling donkey drops. And instead of starring with the bat this week, Kane Steele with 3 wickets with the ball. But, and a very competitive chase. Jack Weckett at the top and Paul Meyer both chipping in 40s. Kane Steele with 20s, with just over 20. Just some regular fall of wickets. But, yeah, they got through, past them 9 down with only 3 balls to spare. Matt Wells picked up 4 wickets for Seven Hill. Scott Kirshner with 3. And that game had a huge bearing on the season.
Well, it did. It puts Brinkworth-Kalunga into second spot. Seven Hills remain in fourth spot, so they're going to play finals. But they get the double chance out of that win. So Seven Hill, had they won, would have been right in the shooting game. Probably not getting up into the double chance position, but they may well have been able to host a game or a final instead of finishing fourth. But it wasn't to be for them.
No, it wasn't. And then the former Blythe Kaibunga, not a great day for Clare, unfortunately. They were in trouble right the way through. At one stage, 7 for 58, but all out for 99. And the wickets were fairly well shared by the Blythe Kaibunga bowlers. Michael Hartwig picked up 3, as did Sharat Singh. Justin Sweck picked up 2, and in reply, they absolutely flew. Riley Sterling, still in stellar form that he was in at the Country Cup, unbeaten 83 off only 50 balls in chasing down a total of 101, which they cleaned up in only 17.2 overs.
Wow.
So they're in good nick heading into the finals. There's no doubt about that. So that's certainly shored them up third place anyhow. So they will be hosting a final. Good luck to the Bulldogs. They've had a pretty solid year thus far.
They have. We'll have a look at those finals in just a tick. The final ladder there in Stanley finished Lower North on top. They'll host Brinkworth-Kalunga this week on 16 points. Interestingly, Blythe Kaibunga had the same record as Brinkworth-Kalunga and finished level on wins and losses, and had a better percentage than Brinkworth-Kalunga. But there was an adjustment made to their points tally, and I'll get to that in a moment. They lost a premiership point for submitting their scores late in one round, and it's cost them second spot on the ladder.
You certainly don't want to drop your knockout final then, because there will be someone that would be probably ending up with a blundstone on the backside.
I think that's a major fine. That might be at least a pineapple into the fines kit, I would have thought, for whoever was responsible for that.
Oh, well, or 100 acres, it may be a significant fine.
The one advantage they get, I guess, Blythe Kaibunga, is they, as you rightly pointed out, will host the final against Seven Hill, who finished fourth. Watervale missed out. Clare combined only had the couple of wins for the season, and Auburn Mintero didn't trouble the scorers for the year. So the finals there get underway next week in Stanley Cricket. We'll check out the A2 situation and the rest of that next week. But so 1 versus 2, 3 versus 4. Lower North, Brinkworth-Kalunga. Who do you like in that one?
They've played a lot of finals against one another in the last decade. You would have to stay with Lower North. They've just been in great touch all season. Brinkworth-Kalunga, they should bring their A game, but you would say Lower North should win that. Maybe not comfortably, but they should just be that little bit too good.
Mm. And I assume it'll be at Blythe. Blythe Kaibunga taking on Seven Hill, and that is the knockout semi-final. You would think Blythe Kaibunga start favourites there. If they're up and going, there's certainly a chance to win the whole thing. But Seven Hill have spent all season defying the odds.
They certainly have. That game's at Blythe. I would imagine you'd certainly want to knock over Riley Sterling as early as you can at the moment. He could put on a very, very significant score. But Blythe Cowabunga at home would have to start favourites. But, Seven Hill, they made a late charge at the end of the season and, could easily have been in the top two. So don't underestimate them, but Blythe Cowabunga by a very small margin.
All right. We move to Rocky River Cricket to finish today, and we might have seen one of the matches of the season, and in fact, we might have seen one of the performances of the season here in a losing cause. So, Georgetown taking on Laura. They put on 6 for 205 batting first, and one bloke bludgeoned 132 of them.
Shane Ballantyne, he has had a fantastic season. He's not played a huge number of games, to be honest. He's played 8 matches and he's chalked in 506 runs at an average of 101.2.
Boy.
I'm getting the feeling he's probably well likely to make an appearance for the combined northern side at next year's Country Cup. But he has been in great touch. So, unbeaten 132 there from Shane Ballantyne. Set up a very competitive total at 6 for 205 against a highly competitive Laura side. But to their credit, Laura, they have been such a good side for a long, long time. They managed to chase them down in the 35th over, 8 wickets down. At one stage, they were 8 for 176, so they had a bit of work to do. Zeke Kay chipped in with 75, better than a run of ball. And Will Smart, an unbeaten 15, got him over the line. And well done to Zeke Kay. Obviously didn't learn many of his cricketing talents over at Lock from 1P Pearce, so congratulations. And, of course, Shane Ballantyne chipped in there with 4 wickets. He had a very, very good day, but he would still be disappointed with the loss.
Yes, it's not every day you stroll around and make 130-odd with the bat and then go out and take 4 for and find yourself in a losing cause. Come with me, boys. A bit of that from Shane Ballantyne there, but they still couldn't get it done. That's about as close as anyone's pushed Laura all season.
Yeah, and that's, they're odds on to be the grand finalists against one another, so we'll wait to see how that progresses.
Well, that's true. In fact, I shouldn't say that because Laura did cop a loss earlier in the year, but I don't want to make excuses for them. They were missing a few. But the Chooks, they might have a bit to say about that. They had the bye last weekend, which meant down the bottom of the ladder, we were playing for pride and the wooden spoon. Gladstone took on Red Hill. And after Christmas, gee whiz, Red Hill would have liked a few more games after Christmas, I reckon. Who knows what might have been. But they got the job done here.
Yeah, once they parked all the harvest equipment up, they showed much better form. Gladstone won the toss and had a bat. Battled a bit, got through to 3 for 155. Obviously, kept some wickets in hand. There's some good knocks there. Ben Flowers chipped in with 30. Jamie Davidson, the skipper, 66. And Angus McCullum unbeaten on 37. Very competitive total, but Red Hill with a full quota there. They did very well, chased them 5 down in the 38th over. Young Charlie Millard picked up 3 wickets after, during the bye round, having a cameo playing for Bundaleer the week before, his grandfather's team over at the Forest, which basically is a neighbouring club to Georgetown across the association boundary. But, Red Hill managed to sneak their way ahead. Skipper Larry Klinger top scored with 55. And at the back end there, Daniel Hayes chipped in with 36 off only 26 balls. So it was that was a pretty good effort.
Very good effort. And 8 for 300 and what's that? 11-ish off of the better part of 80 overs in the day. So I think it's pretty safe to say the bat dominated the ball there for the 2 lower ranked sides, and that hands Georgetown the wooden spoon.
No, not Georgetown. It hands Gladstone, rather.
Yeah, Gladstone. My apologies. Georgetown definitely don't win the wooden spoon. Yes, it hands them the wooden spoon.
fierce rivalry there. I'm sure Gladstone would like Georgetown to win this wooden spoon and vice versa. And probably the same goes to Crystal Brook and Red Hill and places like Seven Hill and Clare and all sorts where your neighbour, people who are neighbours tend to get a little bit stroppy with one another at times. But no, that was, it was good to see Red Hill hit a bit of form at the back end of the season, that's for sure.
All right. So that leads us to finals time here as well. A different final setup, only the 5 teams, of course, in the A-grade competition. So it's a 3-team final series. Laura will await the winner of the, for want of a better way of putting it, preliminary final. It's called a semi-final, but it's basically the preliminary final, right?
That's correct, yep.
So we've got Crystal Brook. They will travel to Georgetown, and Georgetown not only will start favourites, they'll start raging hot favourites, but Crystal Brook have been pretty good since Christmas.
Yeah, they have been. So this will be a really good game. The location's still to be determined. They do have neutral finals venues in Rocky River, as opposed to a lot of other comps do the winners' rights finals. So it potentially could be held at Gladstone, but that's still to be determined. Certainly, yeah, Georgetown. You would really want to see Shane Ballantyne off with the ball and then see him off with the bat as well, because it could be a very difficult day otherwise. But the form he's in, they will be extremely hard to beat, but I wouldn't write off Crystal Brook. They're about the only team that have stopped the Laura run of premierships in recent years, but probably would just favour Georgetown, particularly on the back of Shane Ballantyne's form. He is just in stellar touch.
Well, the last time they met was a rainout, in fact. So that whole round was washed out in just before Australia Day. So you've got to go back to November before you have a look at a game between these two last. And if it's half that sort of game, then I think everyone will be turning up, because 4 for 181, they scored Georgetown batting first in that game, and the Chooks fell short in the run chase by 7 runs. They were bowled out for 174. So I think that tells you the tail of the tape there. It should be a beauty.
Yeah, it should be a great game to get along and have a look at, that's for sure.
Yep. All right. Well, there you go. That's a rundown of Mid-North cricket. Plenty happening this weekend. But before we go, there was a game played over the weekend that you got down to as well, which was the best country cricketers across the state took on the best Indigenous cricketers across the state. It was the Outbacks versus the Boomerangs, right?
It was. That was at Adelaide Oval on Sunday. It was a fantastic game. Any game where community players get to play on the greatest ground in the world is always a great day. But beautiful weather and sensational game of cricket. The Boomerangs, they performed really well. Put together a solid score there, 5 for 112. It was really shared amongst the batters. No one really got away. It was actually nice to see a few of the lads that I'd obviously known for quite some time. Patrick McNamara bowling leg spinners there for the Outbacks, who'd come through our junior programs locally. Our grandfathers actually played together at Peakner about 70 years ago. And there was a few of the mainstays. You could pick the class of some of the players. Certainly Nick McInerney from North Sportsman's down in Mount Gambier led the side and did a fantastic job. And it was even that young 17-year-old Bo Allen got selected for the Country 11, coming from scoring a century in the Country Cup. So it was terrific to see there. But, so a competitive total of 112. Great head-out for the Boomerangs. They looked in good touch heading into, unfortunately, what would have been a representative carnival, but hopefully they'll be ripe for the picking next year. Pretty solid performance. They had the Outbacks in a fair bit of trouble at 6 for 70, but Nick McInerney, after bowling a fairly tight spell with 4 overs for 18, came out and smashed 26 off just 13 balls to get the Outbacks home with 3 balls to spare. And I'm fairly sure hard hats might be compulsory in the grounds staff dugout when the south-east corner at Adelaide Oval, he hit a ginormous 6, which I think Damien Hoff and his staff took cover. It sounded like a shotgun off the bat. It was a magnificent strike. Certainly something I'm sure his family will remember. And with the game being televised via Frog Box online, it was certainly something. Not that we could see where it landed, but you can certainly look at the highlights and hear the sound of the ball coming off the bat. It was a magnificent strike. But with no country national championships this year, it was nice to see the guys get a chance to represent South Australia for both the Outbacks and the Boomerangs, and it's great to play on Adelaide Oval, that's for sure.
I had to go and fish it out of the tool shed down there. If it had been a bit straighter, it would have ended up in Rory Sloane's locker. Yeah, from all reports. So that's a magnificent. It was a magnificent strike. It sounded like a shotgun going around the ground too. Adelaide Oval, when she's empty, if you really middle one, there's no better sound.
Probably the equivalent, biggest sixes I've seen down there. MS Dhoni hit a gigantic one many years ago in a one-day game, and Kyron Pollard's hit a couple. It was not quite there, but it was getting pretty close. It was a tremendous strike. So, well done to Nick. And that's good. It was good to see the guys and a few of the younger players get their opportunity. Obviously, with next season's country championships, pending pandemic matters, are slated to be played in the Barossa. So, of course, the last time South Australia hosted the National Country Championships was in Mount Gambier back in 2015-16, and South Australia were fortunate enough to win the men's division that year, and obviously have won the women's since. So it's great to see the guys have a hit out for sure.
Well, there hasn't been much cricket for the Outbacks over the last few years with the pandemic, so it's good to see them get a hit out, and the Boomerangs as well. So excellent stuff, mate. It's been a big weekend of cricket again, and another big one to come. We'll catch up with you again next week to go through it all.
That we will. Thank you.